In this video, we'll learn two simple methods for importing products into your sugar product catalog. Let's start by understanding why importing products is essential, especially when working with large amounts of data. There are several important reasons. Data management becomes more efficient. Instead of entering each product manually, importing allows for bulk uploads, saving time and reducing the risk of errors. Integration with other systems is another key use case. Whether you're migrating from another CRM or connecting to external systems, importing ensures a smooth data transfer into Sugar, which is critical for maintaining business continuity. You can also use importing to update existing records, making it easy to revise product details, pricing, or availability, all without editing each record individually. It streamlines your processes. With product data already in Sugar, your sales teams can access and use that data quickly, allowing them to respond to customers faster. And finally, importing ensures consistency and accuracy, helping you maintain reliable reporting and business decisions. We'll begin with Sugar's native import wizard, a quick and easy way to create or update multiple product records at once. It works just like other modules in Sugar. To get started, click the Product Catalog Module tab in the navigation bar. Then click the three-dot menu and select Import. This opens the Import wizard and takes you to the Upload Import File screen. If you need a reference, you can download the import file template from this page. This gives you the default format. Keep in mind, though, that the default template includes every available field, many of which aren't necessary for basic use. For a cleaner import, it's best to remove the extra columns and keep only the essential fields. Your final CSV file should include the following: product name, ID, especially if you're updating records that already exist in Sugar, description, assigned user ID, category ID, part number, unit price, cost price, list price, status. Once your file is ready, select it by clicking Choose File and make sure Create New Records Only is selected. Click Next to reach the Confirm Import File Properties screen. Here, you'll see a preview of the first two rows Sugar will attempt to import, just to confirm that your file is being read correctly. The wizard automatically detects file properties to ensure the best import experience. If needed, you can click View Import File Properties to make adjustments. These settings apply only to the current import and won't affect your user preferences. Click Next to continue to the Confirm Field Mapping screen, and then click Next again to reach the Possible Duplicates screen. This step checks whether any values in your import already exist in Sugar. The fields shown here will vary depending on which module you're importing into. If you plan to reuse this import configuration later, enter a name at the bottom of the screen so you can reference it again in the future. Once your duplicate checking settings are ready, click Import Now to begin. When the import is complete, you'll be taken to the View Import Results page, where you'll see a summary and three options: Undo Import, Import Again, or Exit. There are also Duplicates and Errors tabs, which will appear if the import wizard detects duplicate records or any rows that failed to import due to errors. That's how you can import product items into your Sugar instance using the native import wizard. If you're working with larger volumes of data, you can use the CSV Importer. This tool processes records in batches, allowing you to import thousands of entries efficiently. And it saves time by running in the background. You don't need to sit and wait for the import to finish. The system will send you an email notification once the process is complete. The CSV Importer also simplifies updating existing records. You can match based on fields like part number, rather than relying on record IDs. This makes it much easier to manage your product catalog, pricing updates, or customer data. And because it minimizes manual input, it's also more reliable, reducing the risk of errors and keeping your data consistent and accurate across the system. Now that we've covered how the CSV Importer works and why it's useful, let's see it in action. Once the CSV Importer is installed in your Sugar instance, you'll see that the CSV Importer Schedulers module has been added to your navigation bar. To get started, select this module and click Create. This will create a CSV Importer Scheduler record, which serves as the foundation for your import process. We'll give it a name, let's say Assembly Equipment. In the Import Type field, you'll see two options: One Time, which means you'll import a single CSV file, and multiple time, which is used for ongoing imports from a file location, like an FTP directory. For this example, we'll select one time. You can add your email address if you want to receive a notification when the import completes. It's not required, but it's a good idea, especially if you want confirmation or need to be alerted in case of an error. If you'd like to notify multiple people, click the plus sign next to the email address field to add more recipients. It's also considered best practice to write a description so that other users know the purpose of this scheduler record. At this stage, the import status field isn't very informative. It will show configurations are missing until you add the necessary child configuration records, which is what we'll do next. Click Save to continue. Once saved, you'll see the CSV Import Configuration subpanel appear below. The next step is to add your data through a CSV Import Configuration record. Please note that you can create multiple CSV Import Configuration records, but if you plan to add more than one, the order in which they are listed is important. For example, if you're importing both product categories and the items in the product catalog, you'll need to import the product categories first, so they're available to be referenced when importing the product records afterward. Click the plus sign in the CSV Import Configuration subpanel. This takes us to a new screen where we're prompted to name the configuration. Next, choose the target module. In our case, that will be Product Catalog. In the source field, select Upload. If we wanted to pull the file from an FTP location, we could choose Remote, but since we already have a file to import, we'll go with Upload. You'll then be asked whether to trigger logic hooks and PMSE. Logic hooks are custom processes in the system that perform specific actions when certain events are triggered. Most of the time, these don't need to run during an import, so the general recommendation is not to trigger logic hooks or PMSE unless you specifically want automations to execute on the new records. Next, browse and upload the CSV file you want to import. After uploading, you'll have the option to review the import file properties. In most cases, you'll use UTF-8, which is the standard encoding for CSV files and widely accepted across systems. You'll also be able to select from various delimiters, depending on how your file is structured. Then we have the date format setting. This refers to how the dates are formatted in your CSV file. If your file doesn't include any date fields, this isn't critical. But if you're importing fields like date created, date modified, or last interaction date, the format in your file must match what you select here. The same applies to the time format. You'll also want to pay close attention to the time zone. For example, if the data you're importing was exported from a system using Pacific time, you'll need to make sure the time zone reflects that, so the imported records are time-stamped correctly. The remote connection section only applies if you're pulling CSV files from an FTP server. Since we're uploading directly from our computer, we can skip this section. If everything looks good, click Save to complete this step. That will take us to the mapping screen. The first thing you'll want to do here is set up your field mapping. Sugar will do its best to match the columns in your CSV file with fields in Sugar CRM automatically. On this screen, you'll see a side-by-side comparison of your CSV columns and the available Sugar CRM fields. It's highly recommended to review the mappings to ensure each field is matched correctly and that the data format is valid for what you're importing. You can also add a default value, which will automatically populate any blank fields with the value you specify. In our case, we won't set a default value for now. Additionally, there's an important checkbox you'll see during this step. By checking this box, no update will be made if, for any reason, a field in your import file is blank. This setting is especially helpful when you're updating existing records and want to ensure that blank fields in the CSV file don't overwrite valuable data already stored in Sugar. I'll make a few adjustments so that the fields match more accurately. For example, the category ID in my imported file corresponds to category name in Sugar. Status refers to the status, active-inactive field in Sugar. I'll also match cost, unit price, and remove the others. You can remove unnecessary lines by clicking the X button next to the field. So, if we decide a field isn't needed, we can simply click here to exclude it from the import. In this example, I'll remove any fields that I don't need to see in the products record view. Once you're happy with the field mappings, click the Save button to save your changes. The screen will refresh and you'll move on to relationship mapping, which is only necessary if you're establishing connections between modules, such as relating a product to an account or category. Since we're not performing any relationship mapping in this import, the last step before triggering the import is to configure the duplicate check settings. Here, you'll be asked to select which fields Sugar should use to check for duplicates. Depending on your import scenario, this step can be extremely helpful in preventing duplicate records from being created in the system. In the Fields to Check box, I'll select part number as it's a unique identifier for each product. Once you've chosen your field, you'll be presented with 3 actions on duplicate found. The first option will skip the record entirely if a duplicate is found. This means Sugar will only create new records and will not update any existing ones. The second option is for updates only. If a duplicate is found, the record will be updated. If not, nothing will be created. So this option allows updates, but no new records. The third option is Update and Create. If Sugar finds a duplicate, it will update the existing record. If no duplicate is found, it will create a new one. That's the option I'm going to choose for this import. Once I'm satisfied with that setting, I'll click Save. Now that we've configured the import settings, we're ready to bring this data into Sugar. To do that, I'll return to the parent scheduler record. At this stage, I could choose to add another import configuration, for example, to import records into a separate module. You can also rearrange the order of your import configurations by editing the Import Order field. Just click Edit, and you'll be able to adjust the order to ensure that dependencies or relationships between records are created in the correct sequence. Currently, our import status field is blank since we haven't triggered the import yet. It will remain not started until we click the Start Import button, which initiates the process. When you click Start Import, a couple of things happen. First, the configuration status changes to queued, which means it's ready to run. A scheduler job is also created but hasn't been executed yet. You can view the scheduler job at the top of the page. This is especially useful for troubleshooting. If needed, you can stop the import in real time by clicking the Stop Import button. This is helpful if you spot an issue and need to halt the process before it completes. Once the import finishes, you'll have 2 options: Redo Import or Undo Import. Please note that the Undo option will only reverse the creation of records. It will not undo updates to existing records. Now that the import is complete, we can see that the status has changed to complete. If we look at the scheduler job, it provides a log of the completed actions. You'll see a tagline in the log that details how many records were processed, how many errors occurred, and whether any records are still pending. If you open the product catalog, you'll see the newly imported records have been created. You can also confirm that the date has been updated to reflect the time of import. I hope you now have a clear understanding of how to import records using the CSV Importer. Thanks for watching this video.